What if the two greatest empires of the ancient world had actually met? Rome, ruling from Britain to Egypt, China, ruling from Korea to Central Asia, to giant siege, believing they sat at the center of the world, separated by deserts, mountains, and an empire that did not want them to meet. Because if Rome and China had ever formed an alliance, the map of world history might look very different. Yet here's the twist: they almost did. At the height of their power, Romans heard rumors of a distant civilization in the East, wealthy, disciplined, and skilled in the art of silk making, a place they called Syrica, the land of silk. Meanwhile, Chinese scholars wrote about a massive empire far to the west, organized, powerful, ruled by kings who wore embroidered robes and commanded legions. They called it Dakin. Each described the other. Neither knew it, but how close did they actually come? Silk was the key. Rome couldn't get enough of it. Senators wore it. Aristocrats competed for it. And Roman writers complained that silk was draining the empire's gold reserves. But no Roman had ever seen where it came from. The secret of silk, one of China's most guarded technologies, flowed through the Silk Road like water through cupped hands. And every time a Roman merchant tried to move closer to the source, something strange happened. They were stopped. Not by mountains, not by bandits, but by the Parthian Empire master traders who sat in the middle of the Silk Road and controlled everything that passed through. And they had a plan: keep the Romans and Chinese as far apart as possible. Whenever Roman merchants pushed east, Parthian guides diverted them. Whenever Chinese diplomats traveled west, Parthian officials redirected them. Two superpowers reached across the world for each other, and one empire quietly shut the doors. But in 166 CE, something extraordinary happened. Chinese chronicles describe an embassy arriving in the Han capital, claiming to represent Anton, king of Dakin. Anton is believed to be Marcus Aurelius, Roman philosopher, emperor. But did he actually send the mission? Some historians think there were merchants using Rome's imperial name for credibility. Others believe it was a genuine attempt that slipped through the Parthian blockade. Either way, the Han officials documented everything: the gifts, the clothing, the accents, and the stories of a vast empire on the far side of the world. That meeting was real, and it was the closest the two empires ever came to shaking hands. But the most fascinating connection appears on the battlefield. On China's western frontier, Han generals fought the Zhonyu, a nomadic confederation whose power stretched from Mongolia into Central Asia. Centuries later, on Rome's frontier, another nomadic force, the Huns, would smash into Europe. Some scholars believe there could be a link: migrations, splinter groups, pressure waves rippling across the steppe. If true, China's wars pushed nomadic tribes westward, and those tribes eventually slammed into Europe. Two empires that never met may have shaped each other's destinies through the movements of people neither side controlled. Then there's the most debated clue of all. A Han dynasty record describes capturing a group of foreign soldiers who fought in a fish-scale formation, overlapping shields, moving as one, exactly like Roman legionaries. Is it proof that survivors of Crassus's lost legions at Carrhae were pushed east, traded between kingdoms, and finally clashed with Chinese forces? Historians argue about it, but the possibility alone is enough to rewrite a chapter of ancient history. Imagine lost Roman soldiers standing on the edge of the Gobi Desert, staring at the banners of the Han Empire. Whether myth or reality, it reveals a deeper truth. Rome and China were not isolated giants. They were connected through trade, through middlemen, through wars, and through the quiet movement of ideas. Chinese silk reached Roman emperors. Roman glass reached Chinese nobles. Gold, spices, knowledge, disease all traveled through the arteries of the ancient world, crossing borders that neither empire could see. Two worlds, tied together by people who never stayed in one place. But then, almost in parallel, both empires cracked. Rome weakened under economic strain, invasions, corruption, and civil wars. China fractured into warlords, famine, and rebellion as the Han dynasty collapsed. The Silk Road dimmed, caravans stopped, and the dream of Rome and China meeting slipped back into legend. Today, the only proof they almost touched is buried in deserts, written in forgotten scrolls, and hidden in the movement of goods and people that connected the ancient world more deeply than we once believed. Which brings us back to the question that started it all. What if they had met? Two superpowers, two world philosophies, two empires of law, innovation, military might, and ambition. History might have shifted, borders might have changed, And the story of the world might look nothing like the one we know. But they didn't. They only reached for each other across mountains, deserts, and oceans close enough to sense the other's shadow, but never close enough to touch.